All righty, now you can go ahead and begin. Thank you.
Thank you. I've been working with the online economic disclosure statement since 2010 when we first started to use this at the City of Chicago. So today we'll walk through how to utilize the system for filing your EDS when it comes time to bidding with the City of Chicago. So let's start with some basics. What is the economic disclosure statement and who is required to file one? So the economic disclosure statement is required of all applicants who contract with the city, all bidders and proposals on bids for procurement, for RFPs, meaning requests for proposals, RFQs, which are requests for qualifications. If you are working with the Department of Office Budget and Management or any of the delegate agency grant programs, you will also need an economic disclosure statement. And if you are dealing with departments that have their own contracting authority, so this would be, for example, departments that have real estate transactions or city council approved agreements, all of these also need economic disclosure statements. And the EDS, which is economic disclosure statement shortened, is required for all legal entities that own people doing or own companies doing business with the city. I don't think any of you guys call would probably fall into that category. But if you have corporate owners, then those corporate owners would have to file along with you, the contracting party with the city. And what are some of the purposes of disclosure? So the economic disclosure statement serves several public policy purposes. One is disclosure of ownership and control. Who is benefiting from city contracts? Another is disclosure of retained parties, subcontractors and others. Again, who is benefiting from city contracts, because not only does contractual funds flow through to the owners in the form of profits, they flow to subcontractors and others who are paid out of the city contract. And then finally, the other purpose served is to demonstrate compliance with municipal, state, and federal laws and regulations. By using the online EDS, you realize several benefits. One is that the EDS information is saved and used for future EDS documents. This saves you quite a lot of time. So if you bid on many city contracts, you don't have to re-enter the same information over and over again. That is saved by the system and will come up and pre-fill future EDSs. Very, very handy. Another benefit is online error checking. This increases the accuracy of submitted EDSs. It spares you from having to go through inapplicable questions, or those are skipped. It does create accuracy by requiring that you answer questions that are required to be answered. And any areas of concern that the system sees will be flagged and brought to your attention. Electronic submittal is how the EDS works for you guys. We approve it internally within the city electronically, and then the EDSs will post to the web with your awarded contract. They will also be visible in the system when you log on. This creates significantly greater transparency for the public. And EDSs for awarded contracts are automatically posted to the web when the contract is awarded. And another aspect of transparency is that officers, directors, owners, retained parties can be searched by the public. Some features for the online EDS are self-service vendor registration. So if you have not registered your company to have an account to file online EDSs, you can do so after our presentation today. I'll walk you through how you actually go on and register, and you can see how easy it is to do so. When you register, you will receive an online account, and when you file your EDSs, you will sign them electronically. This involves a password and a secret question. Your information is kept in the system, as I mentioned, for use in future EDS filings, and this information is kept for 1 year. During that year, your EDSs that are filed are automatically pre-filled with the information that you put in during your first filing. Information which is contract specific will not pre-fill, but the bulk of the EDS, which doesn't vary from contract to contract, will be automatically pre-filled, saving you lots of time. And then you'll receive an annual reminder of EDSs that are expiring, meaning they're reaching their 1 year expiration. EDSs that are not updated within a year then will expire, and when you have an expired EDS, you will have to re-enter a brand new one should you decide to bid after the expiration. Now I'm going to take you through a walkthrough of the screens that you'll see when utilizing the online EDS, and thereafter I'm going to take you through a live demo. After the walkthrough, we'll stop for any questions you may have, and then we'll proceed to the live demo. Step 1 in using the online EDS is to register your company for an account, and that is called vendor registration. And it's a simple form, and you'll see that there is a link at the top for vendor registration. It will walk you through step by step. We're going to do that shortly. During vendor registration, you will need your company's FEIN number, the Federal Employee Identification Number, and you'll use your company's full legal name. The person who's registering, the first user, becomes the EDS captain. The EDS captain essentially is an administrator, and the EDS captain can approve additional users, change the company's name, add additional company addresses, and change these addresses. After you have registered, the next step is to log in. And if you do log in and you forget any of your information, you have these available at the bottom to send you reminders of your user ID or your password. And the next step is to create an EDS after you have logged in. And there are 2 settings that are important to note. One is called contract, and the other one is called information update. You want to select contract if you're bidding on or responding to a city request. So let's say you have an existing contract, but now the city would like to exercise an option to extend, or give you a vendor limit increase. In those cases, you may be required to fill out an additional EDS. So at that point, you would select contract. It's important to note that contract doesn't mean you currently have a contract. It might mean that you're bidding on a city contract. So prospective bidders would also select contract. And once you fill out an EDS with contract selected, you will receive an EDS certificate of filing, which you must submit with your bid or to your city contact if, for example, you are extending a contract. The next item is information update. This is used when the system emails you and says your EDS is close to expiration. Would you like to update the information in the system? Updating it may be as simple as confirming that nothing has changed, or if you update, you can make any changes that may have occurred since your last filing. The information update is not a full EDS, but just keeps the information on file in case you would like to bid in the future. All right, this brings us to the portion where I'll show you a live demo of the system. Are there any questions before we begin the live demo? Anything about the registration process, why you might file, or how you would go about filing? Jackie, can we see if there are any questions? We'll pause for about 30 seconds for folks to type any questions they might have before we go to the live demo.
Well, I said at the end, so they probably weren't prepared for that. But I don't see any at the current time.
Okay.
We'll give it a chance for folks to, if you let me just say this, if you're on, please write your questions in the Q&A panel, not the chat panel. If you're on, please write your questions in the Q&A panel. The Q&A panel can be found in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. You can click on the three dots to get the Q&A panel, or it should be at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So if you go ahead and type your questions in there, we will take your questions. If not, you can go ahead and move on. We have one question in the Q&A panel.
Okay.
May give you time for others to come along in the Q&A panel. Do all users in a company need a register?
That's a good question. All users in the company do need to register. You, as the EDS captain, just register yourself. The other users would register, and then you, as the EDS captain, would need to approve additional users. We can show that during the live demo. Are there any others before we begin?
It just is testing, so I guess the person is testing what you just said. And for that person that wrote me privately, what is EDS? Is Economic Disclosure Statement. And he's going to take you through that right now. So I would say just go ahead and do your live demo, and then if they have further questions, we'll get them on the return.
Okay. Jackie, can you confirm that you can see the training environment test for online EDS?
We cannot, you will have to reshare your screen.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so let me do that.
And then just choose that one this time, that browser versus the PowerPoint.
So I'm going to stop sharing, and then let me reshare. Okay. Can you see it now?
And I see online economic disclosure statement. See it now.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Jackie. So let's start and walk through our live demo. As I mentioned earlier, the first step is to register. So we go to vendor registration. There's home, EDS search, vendor registration, and support. Vendor registration is where we will start. Sometimes the system does time out after 15 minutes. If you see this blue box, don't panic. It just means you need to log in again, or we are registering for the first time, so we're not going to log in just yet. So each person needs to have their own user account. So we don't have shared user accounts with the company. So if you have 5 users, each person will need to register. But the primary registration is for the EDS captain, as I mentioned earlier. So let's begin. We'll make up a fictitious user and take it from there. So we'll say Sally S. Stage, and let's say she's the company president, and she has a business phone. You have to pick a user ID, and the user ID is only good for one person and one company. If you have multiple companies that need to be registered, let's say you have multiple layers of ownership, there still needs to be a separate ID for each layer of ownership. So if you have 5 layers, you need 5 user IDs. So let's just say S Stage, and then you do need to pick a password. Now the password has to conform to various requirements. It must be at least 8 characters long, contain at least 1 lowercase letter, 1 uppercase letter, and you can't use your user ID or some variation of it. You need to have a number or some special characters, and there are some characters which are not allowed here, and these are listed here. So we'll pick one. Whoops. You will have to enter your email address. And confirm it. And then you come to the secret question. The secret question is part of your electronic signature. You have several choices for secret question. You can pick the first one. And then we will go to next. So if you receive any errors, they will appear in red, like this one, and you'll have a little circle with an exclamation point in there. And this one probably isn't long enough. So we'll say yes. So in this case, that was the problem. Your username needs to be a certain length. We lengthened it and the system took it. So now we go to company information. The first screen was user information. So for the first time of your registration, you will not have an invitation number. An invitation number is used if you have multiple tiers of ownership and you need to file multiple EDSs for the same bid. In the case when you are registering for the first time, you can ignore this. But you will need your company's FEIN number. And so we'll just put our FEIN number in. Whoops. So you need to say yes. And then this will turn from gray to white, which will allow you to do your data entry. And most people will not need to use the vendor ID number. So you just leave it no, and we'll put in the company's legal name. This then brings up the vendor registration matching vendors page. If you're already in the system, it will pull you up. If you are not, then you'll have the option to add your information as a new vendor. So for the person who asked the question about other people at the company, the person after the captain who registers will see that the company already exists, and they should not add that information as a new vendor. In fact, it won't allow duplicate registrations with the same FEIN number. So they would just accept the company that comes and select that, and then they will register an account with the existing company. But in this case, there is no existing company, so we can hit next. And notice what happens again. There's lots of validation. We didn't type in an address. So we put in the information. We hit next. Then we get presented with a summary screen, which gives you a chance to validate the information that you've entered. And if it's incorrect, you do have the opportunity to correct it. If it does look correct, you can accept it. So you can go to previous if it's not correct. In this case, we can confirm. However, this system does have some checks and balances in here. So as you might have seen on other systems, you will need to check this I am not a robot. So this discourages automated registrations. So we hit confirm. Now we have a registration complete. Now, before we can log in, you do have to verify a link which validates that the email address that you have is correct. So this link will be sent to your email, and then you need to find that email and then click the link that's in there, the validation link. So I'm going to go to my email, and I click on this. I see this email here. It says, "Dear Sally S. Stage, your application for account with the EDS has been approved." So it says your user ID is what you created, and do you see this? Click this link in order to activate your account and confirm your email address. It also gives you some key information about what the EDS captain can do. So the EDS captain has several rights and responsibilities. So other account applications will be approved by the EDS captain. So this answers the question of the person who was saying, what happens if we have multiple employees and multiple staff that need to use the system? They can. Their applications for accounts through vendor registration will go to the EDS captain for approval. So the captain can update site information for the company. And then third, if you have other EDS captains, they can be made captains through the approval process. And then folks who leave the company can be deactivated by the EDS captain. So let's go ahead and click on the link. We get this confirmation screen. And Once we're confirmed, we can go ahead and log in. Go find vendor registration complete, login. So here we are. Jackie, can you confirm that we're back at the login screen? Since I switched to email, I wanted to make sure that we're still sharing the right screen.
I am viewing the login screen with the welcome, user ID, and passcode.
Thank you. So now that we have validated, we are back here, and our first thing is to log in. And then we enter the information and click login. After brief spinning, we are in. So notice what you have here. You have a menu bar at the top, and then you have identifying information. It says who you are and the name of your company. And then you have home screen and some basic information about the online EDS. So we have completed steps 1 and 2. Step number 3 is to go ahead and file your EDS. To do that, we go to My EDS, and then we click Create New. And we're going to walk through filling out an EDS. But I do want to show you some features here. Company Admin. This is for EDS captains only. If you're an EDS captain, you can add addresses and sites here under Site Administration. If you are a captain, you can also approve new users here. You don't see any here because you're the only registered user. However, if other people in your company register, you can approve or deny their registrations here. So further information for those with multiple users. Now, let's go ahead and create a new EDS. Once you'll see that there's other options here, but we won't spend too much time on here. They'll become useful after you've created a number of EDSs, but we'll start with Create New. This brings us to the Create New screen. And again, you're asked, do you have an invitation number? This is no for folks who don't have multiple tiers of ownership. And then we talked earlier about, is this an EDS for a contract or an EDS information update? For our purposes, let's start with contract. We can select this if a certificate is needed for bidding. And then notice here, our first business address is pre-filled from our registration. So our address is here. If there were multiple addresses, you could click the arrows and select multiple addresses, but in this case, there's just one. And in this case, we have only one contact who's registered to use the EDS. So everything is pre-filled. We'll go ahead and fill out the EDS. Once we've clicked fill out, we see a data entry page. On the left, we see that there's a number of different sections of the EDS, from general information, ownership interest, etc., all the way through additional information. Now, each of these sections may have associated with it one or more pages of information. So we need to complete each and every one before we move to the next one. But you can also jump around by clicking on the left side. This acts as a menu. So you can see under certifications, there's 7 pages of information. Under here, there's just one. Back to general, we have 2. So we will start by noticing that, again, our company name is pre-filled. And by default, you are the applicant. You shouldn't be any of these others. And If you are, you would have needed to register for a different company, and you would have had to use invitation numbers. That is beyond the scope of this conversation today, but I can tell you if you need support on that, you can go to click support, go to online EDS manuals, and then look for filing an EDS. It will give you the details if you have if you have multiple tiers of ownership and you want to do those EDSs. But notice here we have our addresses pre-filled. So is our phone number and our email contact and FEIN number. So we can go next. Here we come to information about the matter that you are contracting with the city. So the matter is the general term for, well, what transaction do you have with the city? So let's just say this is for so we put the description of the contract, which should come off of your bid package. What agency or department is requesting this EDS? For most of you, you can just select Department of Procurement Services. This is true even if, let's say, you're bidding for the water department, but the bid is being issued by Procurement Services, you can just put Procurement Services. On the bid package, you're going to have a spec number. You won't generally have a PO number at this time. However, if you are amending an existing contract, you will have one of those numbers. You can leave all the rest blank. A good thing to do from time to time is to click save. This will save your information in case you are disconnected or your internet connection goes down or what have you, and this will avoid you having to re-enter everything. And then when you are successfully saved, you see a green bar at the top of the screen. Now we get to the first page in ownership interests. Let's just say we are a privately held company and we are organized in the state of Illinois. Click next. You have to disclose your directors. If you have directors, answer yes, and then list the full names and titles of all executive officers and all directors. And then you can leave out directors who don't have any power to select the entity's officers. So in order to see the menu for entering this, we go ahead and hit add complex row. What this does is bring up a screen of which we can say and then we have to select a role. It could be officer, director, both. Say she's both. We'll hit confirm. Now we see this information here. And there are actions which allow editing the information or removing it. We'll leave it as it is. And we'll hit save. And we'll hit next. So this is where ownership is disclosed. And what we want to do here is add an owner. And so what we can do is by default, it checks there are no owners with greater than 7.5% ownership. If this is not true, we uncheck this. And then notice there is a plus sign next to a person on Sally Stage Inc. We'll go ahead and click that plus sign, and then we can add information about the individual owner. So is this an individual or legal entity? We'll say it's an individual. And let's say our entrepreneur, Sally, owns the whole thing. Notice what happens is it puts in a business address by default. You never want people to disclose home addresses here because this will go straight to the web and they may not be aware that their home address is being public. So let's say Sally is the 100% owner. We type that in. You can verify this information here. Hit confirm. There we go. So we have Sally Stage Inc. owned by Sally S. Stage herself. Now, we now move to questions about city officials, and there's many questions related to compliance. This is one of them. And if you answer yes to any of these, then you need to describe additional information. If you answer no, then you do not need to submit any additional information. Go ahead and hit next. Now we get to disclosure of subcontractors and retained parties. This is required by the city's procurement department, and if you are engaging subs on your contract, it is required that you disclose the subs here. Again, if you have multiple, you can click that multiple times. So we'll say it's anticipated because most people in their bidding only anticipate you can indicate the subcontractor status here. Estimated or paid, estimated is generally the answer. So you see the information is entered here. We'll save again. If you've hired a subcontractor firm, generally people don't hire any persons, meaning that this is to be answered with regards to companies that are doing business as an individual person. This would be a sole proprietorship. Since there are very few of them, if you aren't hiring a sole proprietor, the answer is no. Then we come to the whole gamut of compliance questions, and there's many compliance questions related to the city. Then there's also ones related to federal funding. So we go ahead and answer all these questions. And then there's certification after certification. So we keep filling out our certifications. And notice what happens is that this advances amongst the tabs. And we continue to fill this out. And most people on this call aren't financial institutions, so they fill that out. And then we come to federal certifications, which are more certifications just required by the federal government, not by the city of Chicago. Many of them, they can only acknowledge that. And each of these acknowledgements needs to be ticked off. Now we get to the appendices. They also have to be answered just like a regular question. Once you reach the end, if there's any additional explanatory information you'd like to provide, then you can do that here. If there's additional detail you want to provide on a question that you elaborated on, you can do so here. So here we have none, we'll save it. And when you reach that, then you can go ahead and click Validate and Draft. If there's anything wrong with your EDS filing, the system will inform you. Otherwise, federally funded is required. Okay. So we didn't answer this. So we said it's not federally funded. We don't have to answer these questions. And date and submit. Now we get to the signature portion of the EDS. So you need to be authorized to execute this EDS on behalf of the disclosing party, and that you warranted everything is true, accurate, and complete as of the dates furnished to the city. And submission of this form constitutes making the oath, the authorization oath. So we can go ahead and enter our password and our secret question answer. Excuse me. Oops. All right, this brings us to the certificate of filing, which you can view by clicking View Certificate. And the certificate looks like this. We don't actually have a typo in the real system. In the test system, I'm going to have to ask them to change it. But you will have this certificate, which will be submitted with your bid package. And that brings us to the end of our live demo, just with a few minutes left for questions.
Thank you so much, Ben. We are open for questions. We do have a few here. So I'm going to read them off so you can get started on those. So the person says, if I'm understanding everyone needs an EDS to apply for an RFP, even if I am offering consultant and professional services. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the second part of that question is, would I need to get a P.O. box if I don't have a business address? Since you stated my address may be posted online. I would recommend you do that, but
Yes.
you can
Yes,
answer that.
I recommend that you do that because um, anything you type in there as far as your address is considered your business address. And so you will waive any privacy rights to a home address if you use your home as your business.
Are there any additional questions? We will take a few more just in the last seconds here. If not, I want to, I'm going to go ahead and thank you anyway, Ben, for imparting that great information off to our group. And we hope that you are able to now, online, you can do an economic disclosure statement. And if you have any additional questions, Ben, did you give them an email address, and just in case they don't want to say whatever their question is online?
So if they have any additional questions, they may email me at Benjamin, BENJAMIN .HO at cityofchicago.org.
Wonderful. And we will, I will put Ben's email address in the chat area. So if you want to stay on just a little bit longer to get that, I will definitely put it in the chat area. If there are no additional questions, and at this time, Ben, I don't see any additional questions. I don't know if you've gotten any yourself. If you'd like to say any parting words before I close out.
No parting words. Thank you very much for your time and your attention today.
All righty, great. And for those of you that have joined us today, I do say thank you for coming to the workshop today. We will be having a construction summit, which is going to be virtual online. So if you would like to attend that, feel free to sign up now at www.chicago.gov/construction. We have 5 user groups that are going to give some information about opportunities that they have out there in the universe right now. And you will be able to hear the information from the subject matter experts who manage those opportunities that are out there. So you might get more information than you would have if you're just looking at the bid opportunity list. I say to you, if you again would like to attend our March 24th one-day seminar from 9:30 to 5 o'clock, we have 5 different sessions plus the opening remarks and welcome. Feel free to attend at www.chicago.gov/construction. Again, thank you for attending, and stay safe, stay well, wash your hands, social distance, whatever you need to do or not do. Just stay away from people so we can stay safe, probably so that we can all be in the same room at some point in time real soon. We're looking forward to having these events in live and in person, where we're able to meet you and talk with you face to face, so that people can understand the procurement process and engage in conversation and dialogue about that, so that you can garner more of these government contracts. So with that said, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for attending, and we'll see you at another workshop.